ZeroZeroZero is a hidden gem of a TV show that perfectly connects the Mexican cartels, Italian crime families, and an American family-owned business with a single shipment of cocaine. It tells a great story about how this substance corrupts a Mexican Army Special Forces soldier, tears apart a powerful Italian crime family, and puts an American family's business on the verge of ruin, while showing just how interconnected it is to the global economy, all the while giving a raw and authentic story, great action sequences, and some of the best soundtracks I've heard on TV, and it all blends perfectly into one epic season finale. So without wasting any more time, let's get into this review. So the show deals with three main storylines that run concurrently. They're distinct worlds from one another and can be categorized as the sellers, the brokers, and the buyers, which are all trying to benefit from a huge cocaine shipment. So first we go to Mexico, where the operation actually begins, and as such, these are the sellers, specifically the Lera brothers, who are the top cartel group in Mexico. But on their tail is the Mexican Army Special Forces. However, there's a mole within this unit by the name of Manuel Contreras. Manuel is an evangelical Christian and highly skilled soldier who tips off the Lera brothers whenever they're about to get busted. What comes off as a simple rogue soldier soon leads to Manuel's dark path into crime, corruption, and a shift in wanting more power and control for himself. Next, we turn to the Linwood family, who are the brokers. They own a family-owned American container shipping company. Realistically, they're just supposed to ship normal everyday items like furniture, coffee mugs, phones, and the likes. However, the bulk of the revenue comes from the shipment of cocaine. It's not as if the business would end if they didn't deal in it, but it is a nice way to bump up the profit margins, which is a fatal compromise driven by the good old business adage of go where the money leads you. And the stakes couldn't be higher with this shipment, as it faces many hurdles to jump through before it can even land in its final destination. And so the two siblings, Chris and Emma, have to accompany it, where they're forced to use unconventional life or death methods to succeed or risk losing everything they've worked for. And finally, we arrive to the buyers, the Italians, or more specifically, an old man by the name of Don Minu, a veteran mob leader for a powerful Italian crime family who's gone into hiding because of assassination attempts on his life from rival members. So this shipment is particularly important to him as it isn't just business, it's life or death. He needs it to secure his power and trust among his followers who are displeased with his leadership. However, his biggest threat isn't his disgruntled followers or rival members. It's his grandson, Stefano, who tries to challenge his authority by betraying him and taking control of the cocaine shipment behind his back. And this sparks a violent and damaging internal family war that has deadly consequences. You know, one thing I really enjoyed about this series was just how chaotically organized everything was. A lot of people might think trying to stuff 3 different stories, each with their own subplots across 8 episodes might be too much. But believe it or not, that was one of the main strengths of this show. The ability to present 3 different storylines that seem to be disconnected from one another, but then having them weave them together into one big story near the end was a masterpiece to witness. Whether it was the Mexicans, Italians, or Americans, each episode genuinely felt like I was watching a new show with how the tone would shift dramatically between episodes. But you kinda knew it was picking up bits and pieces along each episode to work towards a connected conclusion with the characters involved. Like if we start by looking at the Mexicans' point of view, you could immediately feel the tone shift into a more serious and dangerous setting. These episodes felt like watching a high-stakes military show that was packed with advanced guns, special operations, and some of the best action sequences in the entire series. The setting painted an almost war zone-like Mexico, with the Mexican Army Special Forces and cartels fighting one another for the control of power. It was dirty, bleak, and gritty. And these episodes had my favorite character in the whole show, and that is Manuel Contreras, a devout Christian who believes God has given him the answers to a better life, no matter the route given, and as a result, he abandons his role as a soldier and leads into the dirty life of the cocaine business he once swore to stop. Watching him make his decisions really made you wonder if he was a calculative rogue in control of his actions, or if he was just downright psychotic. His complex nature was interesting, because he had moments where he showed empathy and forgiveness towards those who were less fortunate, but showed absolutely no remorse in his violence with those who were between him and his God-given goals. A fascinating character for sure, and someone who really had my eye the whole season. Now if we look at the Italians, the entire tone shifts to an old 80s gangster vibe. The scenery involved old remote buildings, classic cars, and the use of old traditions when committing murders, like using pigs to kill people instead of guns, for example. These episodes were definitely on the slower side, and didn't feature much spectacles, but they were replaced with the high-level strategic mind games being played throughout, and this really shined with Don Minu and his grandson trying to outsmart one another, while their families go head-to-head with each other. And when we contrast that to the American story, the tone shifts entirely to a business-savvy family that's pretty much secluded from the dirty business of cocaine they were dealing in. I mean, compared to the Italians and Mexicans who were actually getting shot at for making the wrong choices, or using pigs to kill one another, for the Linwoods, decisions are relatively easy to make when there's just pen and paper involved and sending a ship on its way. But things get really interesting when the two siblings have to accompany the shipment when things go south. Seeing them out of the office and into the wild was definitely a fascinating watch. I mean, they weren't born into some crime family or raised in poverty and forced to join the army. Violence isn't something they know or are accustomed to, but they definitely didn't let that stop them from making the tough decisions when needed. Let's just say they were more than capable of going toe to toe with some of the most dangerous people in the cocaine business while being in unfamiliar territory. You also got to see their negotiating skills in action when they were stuck in dangerous situations. So all in all, they really surprised me with how they handled themselves and matured throughout the show. As you can see, there's a lot going on for a miniseries, and it probably makes you wonder if they can fill all these storylines and tell a finished story in 8 episodes, because I was honestly worried about it all being disjointed, with no real build up to a satisfying ending. But luckily, the show was in the hands of a talented cast of writers, directors, and actors who handled it all superbly. Each episode drove the story forward with meaning, and there wasn't a wasted scene because they knew what kind of a story they wanted to tell. This is good for us because it means there were basically no filler episodes, and I honestly appreciate that. But that's one thing I've been enjoying lately. These one-season TV shows, from ones based on reality like Chernobyl, all the way to more fictional shows like ZeroZeroZero. I love how they just come in, tell the story, and leave promptly without wasting any more of your time. And I'm actually currently on the hunt for more miniseries, so if any of you guys have some recommendations, and it can literally be anything, I'd be more than happy to check them out. But yeah, that's it from me today. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Peace.